Hiya squishers, and welcome back to my squishy space under the stairs where I have not been for weeks. Where have I been? Well, just here, but I'll just say the last few months threw me a lot of lemons. You know, life throws you lemons? I had a lot of lemons, just so many lemons, and I tried to squeeze them into as many exciting things as I possibly could, but sometimes I just kind of got fed up of lemonade. So I came up with other things to do whilst my knitting and crochet game just took a little bit of a sidestep. Because you know how it is, we talk about it quite a bit, that sometimes craft just doesn't happen for loads of reasons. And some of those reasons are just life reasons. And I don't ever want you to be afraid that it disappears and you haven't got it and it's not yours. Your creativity is yours for life. So sit tight, grab a drink, grab some crafting, and let's have a browse through Kate's crafting journey. How did I get here? Well, let's start. I don't know where, but I'll choose something, and anything I forget today, I'll pop back in and show you the next time, because I'll be here another time, of course, because this roller coaster never stops. It keeps going and going. So, first thing to talk about is the fact that I stopped knitting. I did. There was a little bit of time where I power knit. I knit everything, knit all the stuff, and then I finished off all of the stuff. I've got one right here. Don't even think we haven't even got in touch just to talk about my blanket. So maybe the very last time we chat, I had this on the needles. So here you go. She is off the needles finally. And this is my Squishy Dot. Well, this is a rainbow splash blanket. It's a sock version of my DK rainbow blanket. So this is something that before life just kicked off and just gave me a load of lemons, this is what I was making. And I'm really thrilled that I finished it off and I cast it off. And on the back, of course, we're not finished yet. Look, all the ends to weave in, which I don't mind. They can stay there for a while. Because after I cast this off, I kind of went, oh, what am I going to do now? And for a while, only for a short while, I did nothing. I just had no output for creativity. I just kind of felt like it needed to sit quietly whilst I kind of like dealt with life's lemons. You know what I mean? But when I did get back onto it, which didn't take very long because it feels very weird for me to not be making or doing something. Like, I must be very honest. Like, if I'm not doing the making, something's wrong. Some kind of making's got to be going on. So, when I ran out of pizzazz for myself, I started making sure that instead of just looking at what I was making, that I could make something to maybe encourage somebody else. I know it wasn't you, I know. And it wasn't even me, I know. I actually started paying attention a bit more to the things that my girls were gravitating to as I'm trying to untangle this yarn bath to show you one of the things I've been making. So Tabby has embarked, look at this. This is a good reason to tie off all of your ends, okay? If you're wondering to yourself, shall I bother? Yeah, do it. Do it as you go along, because otherwise this is your destiny. Tabby really got into crochet, so much so that she crocheted everything, and she wanted to make sure that she used all of my yarn that I was using, and I was like, of course, how can I say no? So Tabby has been shopping the shop, picking up the squish and making some squishies with eyeballs and legs, you name it, she's been squishing it. And since she's learned how to cast on herself, it has just gone from a little bit of interest to popping out crochet toys every other day, which I kind of like. She's made me lots of hair extensions and bracelets. So in return, I wanted to make sure that I got something for Tabby to inspire her to crochet. Because to begin with, Tabby wanted to make a crochet square. And I was like, okay. Then it was, I want to make a toy. And I was like, that might be the best place to start, because even though a giant crochet or a crochet square like this one is quite simple and straightforward, sometimes it's a bit too much for your brain. Do you know what I mean? So I started the square, Tabby started the toy, which is in the circle in the round, and between the two of us we had a little bit done, and Tabby said, do you know what, can you just do that and make it into a blanket? And I was like, yeah, of course I can. I needed no excuses. No excuses. I was like, yeah, that's my next thing. So this is what I worked on quite a bit. Now, I didn't finish it in time for Tabby's birthday, but she's okay with it because at the end of the day, I'm not fantastic at finishing things on time for gift knits, but I made a cracking start on the centre of my giant granny square blanket, which is in DK, which is going to be something that hopefully Tabby will add to when it's a bit small and when she gets a bit bigger, because that's the wonderful thing about crochet, is that when you finished it, you're not really finished. You can just pick it up and keep going. So this was the first thing that I started cracking on with, because I was like, give me something else, something else. So that's something else turned into looking at Minnie doing her drawing, and I was thinking to myself, now it is really hard to imagine yourself getting good at something when you haven't done all the good things yourself yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's good to have it's good to be able to look back. Like, if I look in this room, I could be like, oh yeah, I think I've dabbled in colour. But when you're really small, or if you've just started a craft, whatever craft it is, you're not always going to have the bump of stuff to go, oh yeah, I've spent some time, I kind of worked it out. So I thought the best way of me helping Minnie get on board with drawing and be okay with making rubbish drawings, because that is just what happens. Not every drawing is amazing, and also it's about learning. So I started drawing. It started off with a bit of map making. I was like, I can do map making ideas. And then it went on to castles, and then it went everywhere. So let's show you some of the things I've been doing that are not knitting related or crochet related, but ironically they all lead back to yarn. I'm looking at which one to show. I started sketchbooking, sketching, drawing, sketching, whatever I could find. And this was the first one I filled. And I started in June, and I'll give you a quick flick through the pages so you can see the kinds of stuff that I have just been really excited about, just getting down on paper, just like building an encyclopedia of visual images so that I can just put together, because there's something really exciting about creating something out of nothing. And the idea of making something out of nothing is kind of where I thrive, because there's nothing holding you back more when you're trying to learn a new craft or a new skill than not having enough materials. Now, you might look around here and go, what are you talking about? Well, if you're learning how to knit, you need to have materials to knit in. And when I started knitting, I used anything. And now I just make all my own ingredients, so I can just make anything. But it's a bit different when you're drawing and sketching. But I do like a challenge. Now, after I filled up my first sketchbook, I'll hold you the pile because there's quite a few. These are this is an in progress one, and a finished one and a half, 2 finished ones and a half finished one. This one, and this one I made myself because I could not wait for more sketchbooks to turn up, or I didn't want to have to worry about whether I like the paper. So I just got loads of different papers together from around the house, and I just had a lot of fun. So there was so many things I got excited about drawing, like these, drawing foliage. Just love it. There's so many things about mark making that's really exciting. And also I've got a little side project, which I'll tell you about at some other time, where I am looking at drawing elves and castles and stuff. That's all I'm going to say. Elves and castles and stuff. I know it will not be appearing in Kate Celine will, but I am having a nice excuse to work on something. I just love sketchbooks. Something totally different. So I've just been working on a bit of everything. But then I was like, where is this going? Where is this going? And I was like, I need another book with watercolor paper, because I have not watercolored before. The thing that appeals to me about watercolor is the blending of the colors. Like, obviously, because I dye yarn, I was like, oh my God. So many of the things about painting yarn and painting in watercolor are so similar that it just gelled with me. It just felt like the right type of craft for me to be doing at the time. And since then, I've had a couple of different books I put together. Like, this is my favorite one for a couple of reasons. It's my favourite one because it's a double one. I've got a big chunk of watercolour paper here and a chunk of paper that's not watercolour here, which means I can just work in this side. And if you've seen my Instagram lately, you've probably seen a couple of my pages, but I have, let me just choose one that I like that I've done recently. Oh, this one. Just that. Just colours. This is giving me so many different ideas and so many different colour ideas and so many different knitting ideas that after I filled up sketchbook after sketchbook after sketchbook, because sometimes that's all I could do, I started to dye yarn. And I say it started to dye yarn. It's been a little while since I've done a whole bunch of new colours. But I kind of felt like after all I felt like I've been in a washing machine over the last couple of months. So I kind of felt like I needed to find my ground steadily under my feet and just go forward with the fresh. So fresh colours, fresh. So after the sketching and the painting and all of that, I was like, yes, get me back to yarn. So I had a delightful time making, and I'm looking at them like this because these are some of my most favourite colourways for a couple of reasons. These are, I'm going to call them mini jelly beans because the jelly bean collection are like, so many colours with a bit of background colour, and it just creates such wonderful effects in making socks and tubes. These ones are like little micro striped jelly beans, and these ones are all in the shop because I've popped them in the shop as often as I can. These ones are a huge rainbow of hues, and I am just smitten over these. And I've already, hang on, I'll show you the other one in a second. I've already knit a sock in it because to me, something like a fade or a blend, or where something just moves into something else, like this has moved into this, and it does. Let me just see if I can. Yarn bath crafters, yarn bath. A sock has been made. This is my first one. So I've used my signature sock pattern, which is a free pattern on the website. Go and grab it. No yarn purchase necessary. Go and download it and knit it. It's great. I like it because I hate heels. This has no heel. This is like a stretchy one-piece tube sock. And I put the fade from the yellow down to the bottom to the green. So I started up with the green and finished with the yellow. The next time round, I'm going to flip it over and start this side and go down. So this pattern, this is a signature sock pattern with spots. This is the micro mini jelly bean collection. And my next sock I'm going to be having on my needles is this one. This is almost like a summer palette for hundreds and thousands. Now I have some colorways that I love so much that I love to repeat them, like repeats and multiples and repeating. I love those things, repeats and multiples. Like I love that type of stuff because I fall in love with the color base and I just love it everywhere. So this is like a color mix of the flower bed outside my window, which I just love to look at. I absolutely love it. There are so many different types of flowers and leaves and colors everywhere all throughout the year. So these two squishy bundles are in the shop yarn section, and there's only a limited pack of each because they dye them in big chunks, but these guys are going to also make it onto the next thing I've been making, because it's not just socks and yarn is just not for socks. I have been looking at what I want to make this year, and we've already talked a bit about blankets. So this is going to be my mitered square, all the colors I've ever made. That's not going to be possible. I don't have copies of all the colors I've ever made, but all the colors I've got on hold, on hand, in my, I've even got a bag. Let me check this on the floor. This is my up and coming scrappy stash for my mitered square blanket, which I am keeping in here because this is the best way for me to see what am I going to choose. I love clear bags for stashing yarn like this, simply because I don't have to rummage around in baskets or tote bags finding things. And that way it's already sorted, so I can just pick up any of those and stick it on here. Now, I have already exceeded the last block. So I'm onto here with some red ribbon candy, and this one, ooh, this is in one of the new sunset packs in the yarn shop bit as well. But so far, I am thrilled at the way that the colours are going together. I've tried not to do a blend or a fade or a matchy-matchy. I've just gone for, does it stand out next to the next colour? The answer is yes. Boom. And because I really enjoy modular design, and that probably also goes along with my multiples, and I love masses of stuff. Like, I like things en masse. you know, is I'm going to be doing a crochet blanket as well, because I do love the crochet. And to me, crochet is a blanket's best friend because it's got such a durable texture. It's going to last so long. So I'm using my Hundreds and Thousands Rainbow Collection, and I'm going to hopefully, this is the plan, I might change my mind, use the red in the center for each one, and then just the colors around the outside, and I'm going to add them all together. I'm debating whether or not to put a border around it. I can't decide, so I'll let you know about that. But at the moment, I'm just going for the red and then the colors around. And I've measured these, and I've wrote it down, so that you know what I'm making if you fancy making the same ones. This is about 5 grams of yarn, which is just ace, because yarn, when you crochet, it just gets gobbled up. So ambitions: crochet blanket, modular mounted square blanket, obviously some more socks, and I just almost forgot about this. Okay, hang on. Now, it has been a while. I've done a lot of things, and I've just noticed there's one thing on the shelf over here that I have not shown you yet, and that is where all these things blend together, where I've got the colour and the outside and the flowers. And I was like, what am I going to do with my baubles in the summer? Like, I really want to make baubles all year. And I know it's not Christmas, but baubles don't have to be for Christmas. So I have been really looking at my paintings and my flowers and my drawings to see how could I interpret my baubles as flowers inside. So are you ready? This is all I've got so far, and if you want to try it out, I would definitely recommend it. This is my, I've just dropped something on the floor, my bouquet of baubles. Well, it's hardly a bouquet, there's only 2, but you get the idea. I thought, because as you can see, they're everywhere, like they're all over the place. So imagine having a whole vase of pom-pom plants. Not pom-poms, they're baubles. Bauble plants. And all I've used to stick those up inside there are vintage needles, which I love because the colour of plastic is just amazing, and there's just so many of them. And I have an absolute ton of vintage needles, so that's also quite useful. But if you fancy turning your baubles into a bouquet, all you've got to do is just leave a little bit of gap underneath and pop a needle in, and boom, there you go, a bauble bouquet suitable for all year round. So as a quick little roundup tour, even though I can see there's some little bits going on here, this is a swip swap bauble, which will also turn into a flower. There you go. All of the colours are in that. I've gone for like a yellowy green, purple green vibe. That's going to turn into a flower. I'm going to see how that turns out. I have just been throwing everything at the wall, trying out everything, trying new things, but mostly I'm trying to have a bit of a routine, as much as you can when you make things. So I'm finding it very useful at the moment to do doodle a day. I call it doodle a day. And I also started to journal. Not every day, but there are some days where I really like a little bit of, like we're doing here, like a little chat to myself. Like, what am I doing? Where do I want to go? How am I going to get there? And I found that doing a doodle a day or a sketch a day, or even just one thing, is helping me feel like I've caught hold of time a little bit. Do you know when it goes away so fast and so many things happen and you can't hold on to it? It's making me feel a little bit like I'm holding on to a bit of my days each day and popping them into a journal, whether that's drawing or a painting or a pattern or knitting, anything. And that's what I'd suggest to you too. Anything, whatever you can do or whatever you fancy doing, just give it a go. Because sometimes whatever your go-to craft is, it might not do for certain times and certain things. And I don't want you to be afraid to try something else, because it doesn't have to be marvelous, doesn't have to be amazing. I bet you I could show an absolute ton of pictures in my sketchbooks and you'd be like, really? It's a good job you didn't show those. And that's the whole point. It's not about being perfect or great or amazing. I'm just trying to express myself in as many ways possible, so that I just have a way of expressing myself when sometimes I just don't have the words. It happens, and I'm a woman of many words. But talking about a woman of many words, I am going to leave you to craft or to think about other crafting options available to you. And if you've always wanted to try something, you're never too old to start. And there doesn't have to be a reason or an excuse. You can just pick it up and give it a go. And over time, like I say to the girls, it has to get better. It really does. It has to get better. So I am having a lot of fun at the moment, even though you haven't seen very much of me. I'm having an awful lot of fun doing a lot of making, and I can't wait to take you on a little walk around outside and do some more knitting chats with you so that you too can get a bit more involved in colour, because it is so inspiring and it's really refreshing to know that it doesn't matter what day you're on, there's always something to look to. It's true. And if you're struggling with some inspiration for colour, I hopefully will have some things to help you too, in a non-knittery form. Yeah, it might happen. But until then, I'm going to have a lot of fun doing some doodles and paintings and making some toadstools, because that's also on my list of things that I've been doing. And if you're interested in toadstools, I have popped, I'm looking around. No, I have not brought any under the stairs. I have popped some toadstools on the website. Obviously, it's mushroom season on the website, so you can go and pick which one you fancy. But if you like things like toadstools and that, jump onto the Squishmail so you can find out when it's in. And also, do let me know beneath or in the comments if you found it that sometimes your main go-to craft just hasn't quite cut it. And what is it that you picked up? And also, what would you like to learn? Give it a try. Until next time, Squishers, I shall see you soon. Keep crafting and keep colourful. Okay? Bye!